Good day. Thank you for joining us for today's news. If you find this helpful, please consider subscribing. We're here every day with calm, clear updates just for you.
Howard Temple, the 85-year-old spiritual leader of the Gloriavale Christian Community, is now on trial in Greymouth District Court for historic sexual abuse allegations that date back over 2 decades. The charges include a range of indecent acts, such as unwanted touching, hugging, and kissing of 9 and 20 within the community's presence. Temple denies the allegations with his defense, claiming his actions were expressions of affection and care, part of the community's pastoral dynamic. The trial, which has drawn significant attention, comes after a 3-year police investigation. Judge Raoul Neve has refused applications to film the proceedings, aiming to prevent the trial from turning into a public spectacle. As the case unfolds, it highlights the complex challenges of addressing abuse within religious and insular communities, where trust and tradition often clash with the need for justice and accountability.
New Zealand is making a big change in how in-store card payments are handled. From May 2026, businesses will no longer be allowed to add extra fees when customers use EFTPOS, Visa, or MasterCards. The checkout. Instead, the cost of providing contactless payments will fall on the merchants themselves. While this could lead to higher prices for some goods, the government says it will save consumers up to $150 million annually. The policy also aims to make payment costs more transparent, ensuring rules are already in place in the UK and EU, and Australia is considering it. The Commerce Commission will enforce the new rules, and businesses that break them could face fines or be required to refund customers. This move is part of a broader effort to protect shoppers and create a more equitable retail environment across the country.
In a shocking revelation, the Health and Disability Commissioner has uncovered a pattern of disrespectful and demeaning treatment towards an elderly woman at a Whakatāne Rest Home and Hospital. The findings, detailed in a recent report, show that the woman was subjected to repeated disrespectfully and even left on the floor for 40 minutes after a fall. The report highlights a systemic failure at Golden Pond Lakeside Private Hospital, with the commissioner concluding that the behavior of 6 staff members reflected a culture of disrespect. While the rest home has apologized and made changes, the commissioner has called for further improvements and respectful communication. This case serves as a sobering reminder of the importance of ensuring dignity and respect in aged care, and the need for ongoing vigilance in protecting vulnerable residents.
New Zealand is facing a growing employment crisis with 27,850 jobs lost over the past year. The latest data from Statistics NZ shows that key sectors like construction, non-maintenance of roles, young people are bearing the brunt of this downturn, with employment rates 落在长城. Hugh Hawkins, a recent graduate, shares his struggle to find work, relying on casual jobs and benefits to make ends meet. Economists warn that the impact of the pandemic is still being felt, with the labor market lagging behind other economic indicators, while some sectors like education trend is one of top, with unemployment expected to peak at 5.4%. The need for targeted government action to create jobs and support young workers has never been more urgent. The Green Party is calling for a job guarantee to address the crisis. But for now, many young people are left in a difficult position, struggle.
New employment data from Statistics New Zealand highlights a troubling trend in the labor market, with the construction sector losing over 12,000 jobs in the past year, and unemployment rising sharply. Westpac economist Marco Gordon notes the shift from a tight labor market to a more competitive jobs. Regional disparities are also evident, with the North Island struggling more than the South. While overall job ad levels remain below pre-pandemic levels, there are pockets of growth in certain regions. The data becomes the need for targeted support and policy adjustments to address the challenges faced by workers.
New Zealand's job market is in trouble, with a staggering 27,850 jobs lost over the past year. Young people are especially struggling with a sharp drop in employment. Professional services have all seen major job losses, while the education and primary industries. Hugh Hawkins, a 23-year-old graduate, described the brutal reality of applying for jobs and facing rejection after rejection. With over 600 applicants, experts warn that the economic impact of the pandemic is still being felt and the unemployment rate is expected to rise. Regional differences are also evident, with Auckland and Wellington seeing significant job declines, while some economists remain cautiously uncertain. Calls for government action are growing, with the Green Party proposing a job guarantee. The challenge now is to reverse this trend and provide meaningful.
In a trial that has gripped New Zealand, victims of alleged sexual abuse in the Gloriavale community have spoken out in court, revealing a culture of fear that kept them silent for years. Howard Temple, the 85-year-old leader of Gloriavale, is on trial, facing 24 charges of indecent assault against girls and young women over more than 2 decades. One of the first witnesses, a former member of the community, described how she was too afraid to report repeated indecent touching by Temple. She explained that within the community, women were often blamed for any perceived wrongdoing, and speaking out could lead to shaming, isolation, or even being denied the chance to marry. The woman said that even minor actions like not tying a uniform correctly were seen as attempts to attract attention from men. She recounted incidents where Temple grabbed her, rubbed her legs, or pulled her close while she was working in the dining room. Her testimony painted a picture of a community where power dynamics encalled her. The defense, however, argued that some of the alleged actions were not indecent, but rather gestures of gratitude and support. As the trial continues, the case has sparked a nationwide conversation among Spur and the Gloriavale community and the challenges faced by victims of abuse in such an environment.
The All Blacks are preparing for a crucial leg of the Rugby Championship in Argentina, and key players are set to return to the squad. Captain Scott Barrett, along with his brother Bowden Barrett, Tupavahi, Wallace Sititi, and Tamati Williams are expected to overcome their injuries. However, the absence of players like Tyrell Lomax and Noah Hotham will pose challenges for the squad. Lomax is expected to miss several weeks due to a hand fracture, while Hotham will likely miss the entire Rugby Championship due to a high ankle sprain. This creates an opportunity for players like Finlay, Christie, and Folo Whakatapa to step in. Meanwhile, 8 players who were part of the All Blacks' recent series win over France will be released to compete in the NPC, as the team prepares for the emergence of others will be a significant factor in their performance. This reshuffling of the squad highlights the ongoing challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for the All Blacks as they face one of the toughest tests in the Rugby Championship.
Trisk prisoners in Invercargill are still being placed in dry cells, despite repeated warnings and international human rights standards. This practice has led to sharp criticism from advocacy groups, former prisoners, and watchdogs, who describe the conditions as inhumane and fails in Mandela rules, which emphasize the humane treatment forged. Corrections officials explain that safer cells are often full, leaving staff with no alternative but to use dry cells. However, this has drawn sharp condemnation, with calls for a systemic review of how vulnerable individuals are treated within the prison system.
New Zealand is preparing for a major weather event as heavy rain and strong winds are expected to hit much of the country on Tuesday. The Met Service has issued orange-level heavy rain warnings for areas including Auckland. Strong wind watches are also in place for some parts of the North Island. This weather system, caused by a front moving eastward, is expected to last into Wednesday morning. Residents are being urged to stay updated with the latest warnings and take necessary for flooding and other hazards. It's important for communities to be vigilant and prepared, whether it's a time to ensure safety as the weather keeps warning.
That's all for today's news. We appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this update, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us keep going.